Eto Comic Club for February 2024 and January 2024, covering Batman 426 through 429, A Death in the Family arc, as well as Robin 2, The Joker's Wild 1991, and Robin 1993, issue 85. Trigger warnings include major examples of Islamophobia, child endangerment and death, references in surrounding context including mention of AIDS, homophobia, misogyny, school shootings, cancer, child pornography, drug overdosing, and abortion. Also, the book refers to the woman who gave birth to Jason as his real mother. That is not the terminology used these days because step and foster mothers are just as validly real mothers. I will alternatively use the term biological mother for the woman responsible for giving birth to Jason, as is befitting modern society. Some of the visual comic panels shown in the slides tonight will show drawings of blood and bodies either deceased or in comas. So, as a quick Robin timeline recap, Dick Grayson first appeared in Detective Comics issue 38 in April 1940 as the original incarnation of Robin, Batman's crime-fighting partner. In Tales of the Teen Titans number 44 in July 1984, the character, after becoming a young adult, retires his role as Robin and assumes the superhero persona of Nightwing, created by Marv Wolfman and artist George Perez. It's worth noting that there is overlap in personality and skill sets between the Robins, which will vary depending on the creative team writing them. Generally, though, Dick Grayson was the happy-go-lucky fun Robin that quipped a lot. He was a competent detective with the patience and compassion required for solid leadership skills. Skill-wise, he's known as the best acrobat, gymnast, and aerialist of the Robins. Jason Todd, the second Robin. Jason Peter Todd first appeared in 1983 in Batman 357, created to succeed Dick Grayson as Robin, Batman's partner and sidekick. Initially sharing a similar origin to Grayson, his character's origin was rewritten after the 1985 Crisis on Infinite Earths event, which rebooted a lot of the in-universe continuity. The post-Crisis on Infinite Earths version of Jason Todd was first introduced prior to the issues we're covering tonight as the son of Willis Todd and Catherine Todd. Catherine was a drug addict and died from an overdose, while his father had once worked for Two-Face and was murdered by the criminal. Legally an orphan, Jason lived in his father's apartment in a derelict building in Crime Alley, where he turned to crime out of necessity. Jason became highly skilled in stealing tires from vehicles, and during one of his usual thefts, he met Batman as he stole the Batmobile's wheels. Jason was taken by Batman to a reform school. However, Jason soon realized the school was conducting illegal activities with the youngsters at the school, and he escaped. When Batman located him, Jason informed him about guns, crimes, and even assisted Batman in capturing the gang, after which Jason was taken in by Batman as the new Robin at the age of 12. After 6 months of training, Jason was ready to go into action as the new boy wonder. Unlike Batman's first protege, Dick Grayson, Jason was impulsive, reckless, and full of rage. After a first meeting with his predecessor, Jason struck a good enough friendship with Nightwing, and during a troubled time for the Titans, Jason is recruited by Donna Troy to help on a mission. Jason becomes frustrated by the situation when Donna expects him to figure out plans and save everyone, like Dick would have. In the immediate issues before Death in the Family started, Jason's violent methods against crooks eventually caused the accidental death of a criminal. Jason's attitude got him and Batman in trouble, but Jason showed no sign of slowing down. Instead, Jason became more reckless until he was forbidden from going out as Robin. Death in the Family. Writer Jim Starlin. Jim Starlin, the writer of Batman Death in the Family, is best known as the creator or co-creator of Marvel characters Thanos, Drax the Destroyer, Gamora, Nebula, Pip the Troll, Dreadstar, and Shang-Chi, as well as writing the acclaimed miniseries The Infinity Gauntlet and its many sequels, namely The Infinity War and The Infinity Crusade, all detailing Thanos' pursuit of the Infinity Gems to court Mistress Death by annihilating half of all Earth and the cosmos, before coming into conflict with the Avengers, X-Men, Fantastic Four, the Elders of the Universe, joined by Silver Surfer, Doctor Strange, Gamora, Nebula, and Drax. In the 1960s, Starlin served as an aviation photographer in the US Navy in Vietnam, drawing comics and sending them into Marvel, who would say, "Almost there, try again next year." When Starlin got out of the service, he sold two-page stories for DC's monster books and got work writing Marvel's Captain Marvel, the male version, and Warlock comics. His Captain Marvel comics started getting published before the DC horror stories he'd initially sold had actually been published. Starlin eventually moved to working at DC. Starlin always thought that the whole idea of a kid sidekick was sheer insanity, So when he started writing Batman, he sidelined Robin as much as possible, and editor Danny O'Neill coerced Stalin into including Robin in a couple of stories, but Stalin started lobbying to kill off Robin. At one point, DC had this AIDS awareness book they wanted to do. They sent around memos to everybody. Everybody, I say. Everybody. Saying, what character do you think we should, have him get AIDS and do this dramatic thing? And even had a ballot box in the office, though the project got cancelled before it was made. Stalin kept sending them things saying, oh, do Robin, do Robin. And Denny O'Neill said, we can't kill Robin off. Apparently Jimmy Olsen won the poll of the character that was going to contract AIDS, and according to Stalin in interviews, the reason it's rumoured it was scrapped was because of the optics, with rumours surrounding the actor that was playing Olsen in some of the Reeves movies at the time, though largely unsubstantiated rumours as far as I can tell from my research. Then Denny one night got this flash that, hey, if we get this number where people call in and they can vote on it, they can decide whether Robin lives or dies. So that's how it started. Stalin wrote up 2 endings and the readers' results came in, which Stalin didn't find out till weeks after. Stalin wasn't surprised by the poll result. He'd figured Batman fans were a ghoulish lot to begin with. He was only surprised by how close the vote came. The poll received 10,614 votes, with the winning by a slim margin of 72 votes. There's been rampant speculation for decades that the vote was rigged by one person setting up their system to call in every 60 seconds, but again, largely unsubstantiated. But once the book came out, while Robin dying made it a big hit for them, the merchandising department realized they had all this merchandise with Robin's picture on it. Executives at DC balked at this, and suddenly the story was all Stalin's idea, and work at DC started drying up for him. It all worked out, fortunately, though, because he went back to Marvel and started writing the iconic Infinity storylines that he is now renowned for. After an injury in 2016 with an exploding SodaStream sparkling water maker sent him to the emergency room and reduced use of his hand, Stalin mainly sticks to writing comics these days instead of drawing them, primarily releasing them through non-Big Two avenues like Kickstarter, Aftershock Comics, and Dark Horse. Social media has meant he hasn't needed to start resorting to working with the Big Two as much in order to maintain a profile, and he's generally happy about that. Batman, issue 426, Reckless Youth. Batman and Robin stake out a warehouse full of low-level crooks awaiting police backup, but Robin rushes in early against Batman's orders. While stopping the criminals, Batman mentally notes Robin's odd, moody behavior of late. After chiding Robin, Batman returns home to discuss the situation with Alfred and decides to remove his ward from duty effective immediately. Jason overhears and angrily leaves. Batman is soon called to Arkham Asylum after the Joker escapes, killing 8 men with laughing gas made from cleaning supplies. At his hideout, the Joker tells his associate, Rupert, how his assets were seized during his incarceration, but reveals a cruise missile and launch vehicle in storage he obtained from a military contract. The Clown Prince of Crime decides to sell the weapons to terrorists. While walking through Gotham City, Jason Todd ends up in Crime Alley and visits his mother's friend, Mrs. Walker. She gives Jason a box full of personal effects, which are a little water damaged, including Jason's birth certificate with his mum's name blotted out and beginning with the letter S. Realizing Catherine Todd was his stepmother, Jason searches the box where he finds his father's now out-of-date address book, which contains the names of 3 women whose names start with S, one of whom might be his biological mother, and uses the Bat computer to locate them. He leaves Wayne Manor to begin his investigation, taking a plane to Israel. Batman finds the Joker's hideout and realizes his arch-foe has left for Lebanon with a nuclear weapon to replenish his cash flow. Our hero quickly returns to the Batcave where Alfred informs him that Jason has run away. Batman is left with a dilemma: stay in Gotham City and locate Jason, or stop the Joker. Later, Batman leads a team of naval commandos to Lebanon to recover the stolen C-130 and discovers that the Joker has indeed smuggled a nuclear device into a Middle Eastern nation and learns from Alfred that Jason is in Israel. In Israel, Robin breaks into a military base to find the whereabouts of Sharman Rosen, an intelligence agent who may be his biological mother. Using computer records, he learns Rosen is working undercover in Beirut, Lebanon. Meanwhile, Bruce Wayne arrives in Lebanon and goes into action as Batman to gain information from some terrorists about the missile. He learns that a man named Peter Brando is offering the weapon for sale at the Hotel Blue, where Sharman Rosen is staying. Jason arrives at the Hotel Blue and finds Bruce. Jason tells Bruce about his investigation, but becomes downtrodden when told of Bruce's mission to stop the Joker. Suddenly they spot Brando with Rosen and follow in a pair of jet-powered bat gliders. The Caped Crusaders witness the Joker's sale of the smuggled cruise missile. The sale is interrupted by Batman and Robin, who are soon joined by Shaman Rosen. When the missile is fired, it explodes in its launcher, but the warhead fails to detonate. The Joker escapes in the ensuing confusion. Robin learns Rosen is not his biological mother, and the three return to Beirut. Robin insists on finding his biological mother, and Batman agrees to help. Meanwhile, a disguised Joker books a flight to Ethiopia. Batman, issue 427. On the trail of Shiva Wusan, Bruce and Jason learn the mercenary was kidnapped moments before their arrival and taken to the Bashar Pass in Bakar Valley. In a famine relief camp just outside of Magdala, Ethiopia, the Joker blackmails Dr. Sheila Haywood for shipments of medical supplies. Meanwhile, Batman and Robin learn Shiva Wusan is none other than Lady Shiva. More on her later. Lady Shiva battles Batman to a standstill, and she is only defeated thanks to Robin's assistance. As Robin cuffs the renegade martial artist, Batman sabotages the camp's explosive cache. After trekking through the desert for a while, Batman interrogates Lady Shiva and learns she never had any children. The dynamic duo depart for Ethiopia. This Lady Shiva never had children, does later get retconned. Bruce and Jason meet Dr. Sheila Haywood, biological mother and son, reuniting. Soon, the Joker arrives and he takes Dr. Haywood to the central warehouse to steal the medical supplies. Jason follows on a stolen motorcycle. As supplies are unloaded, the Joker has boxes of his lethal laughing gas loaded in their place. Jason returns to the camp to enlist Batman's aid, who chases the trucks carrying the gas in a minicopter while telling Jason to stay put. Not listening to Batman, Jason returns to the warehouse and reveals his identity as Robin to his biological mother. Entering the warehouse, Haywood turns Robin over to the Joker because she too was already taking a cut of the medical supplies. Robin is outnumbered by Joker and his thugs, and his most desperate efforts to fight them are futile. The Joker picks up a crowbar and proceeds to beat Robin with it. After his minicopter is shot down by soldiers, Batman is recognized by the truck drivers. He warns them of his deadly cargo they are carrying, telling them to unload the boxes and leave them to be dealt with by the army, and is allowed use of a truck to get back to the warehouse. Meanwhile, the Joker betrays Dr. Haywood and has her bound in the warehouse next to Jason, where he's placed a bomb. Unable to deactivate the bomb, Jason instead unties Dr. Haywood. Attempting to escape, dragging Jason with her, Dr. Haywood discovers that the door has been locked by the Joker as he departed. The bomb then detonates, and a helpless Batman witnesses the explosion from outside the warehouse. As a trivia point, Stalin couldn't think of anything more brutal than using the crowbar, a cold hard weapon of opportunity. Stalin couldn't think of anything worse to kill a kid with. He reckons it wouldn't have been the same if Penguin had beaten him to death with an umbrella, for example. Batman, issue 428. After the explosion, Batman searches among the wreckage of the warehouse where Robin was supposed to be, along with his biological mother Sheila Haywood, while memories about Jason surface in Batman's mind. After searching for a while, Batman finds Sheila near death. She tells Batman what happened with the Joker, and before dying she regrets her actions but is proud of Jason. She dies in Batman's arms, telling Batman that Jason shielded her with his own body. Batman keeps searching, finding Jason's body lying on the ground, and after taking his pulse, confirms that Jason is dead. Batman holds the kid's body in his arms, and sadly, carries Jason Todd away. Meanwhile, the Joker makes a deal with the leaders of the Iranian government. Batman removes what little remains of Jason's costume that could have identified him as Robin and removes the evidence so the authorities won't find anything suspicious and will write off what happened as an accident. Bruce then takes the corpses of Jason and Sheila back to Gotham City. Before leaving, Batman examines the Joker's hideout, finding the Joker's dead henchman and a message written on the wall for the Caped Crusader telling him where to meet him. Back in Gotham, only 4 people, Bruce, Alfred, James Gordon, and his daughter Barbara, attend the funeral of Jason Todd and Sheila Haywood. Bruce was unable to contact any of Sheila's old friends, and afterwards, Bruce goes to the Batcave and looks for the address the Joker left him, the United Nations building in New York City. Batman is waiting for the Joker when Superman appears and tries to persuade Batman to leave the place in order to prevent an international incident. Batman doesn't understand Superman and punches him in the face, only bruising his knuckles because of Superman's self-control, rolling with a punch. The Joker arrives and reveals he is the new ambassador of the Iranian government to the UN and thus can't be punished for past crimes due to diplomatic immunity. Batman, issue 429. A US government official explains the situation to Batman. As the Joker has become the new ambassador for Iran to the UN, he now has diplomatic immunity and no one is allowed to touch him. And to make sure that Batman doesn't create an international incident, the US government has called in Superman to make sure that Batman is under control. At his hotel, Bruce thinks about the situation and contemplates the few options he has left, deciding to investigate what Joker's real plan is. At the Iranian embassy, Batman surprises the Joker and tells him to give up his plan and return to Arkham Asylum. The Joker starts teasing Batman, confessing that he killed Robin and enjoyed it, which confirms all of Batman's suspicions. Before leaving, Batman thanks the Joker for confirming the information on Robin's death and for making his decision much easier. As Batman leaves, the Joker pulls a gun and tries to shoot Batman, but he has already gone and the Joker is left alone, excited about his plan for the next day. Bruce Wayne is admitted to the General Assembly at the UN building as an unofficial observer. The Joker makes his way into the room and for a moment he stops and stares at Bruce, long enough for Wayne to consider if the clown has recognized him beyond the mask. However, seconds later, the Joker continues to the dais, laughing all the way up. The Joker, after a speech, reveals his true motives and sprays the room with laughing gas, and Bruce quickly changes into Batman, before one of the guards destroys the Joker's gun and stops the gas from spreading. The Joker tells the guard that the gas is already in the air and is too late to stop it. The guard inhales all the gas from the room, revealing they are Superman in disguise. Superman tells Batman to finish the Joker, while he finds somewhere safe to release all that toxic gas. The Joker detonates a bomb to open a hole in the wall and escape. And while Batman follows him outside, there's a helicopter ready to take the Joker away. Batman jumps and reaches the chopper before it lifts completely. Climbing inside the cabin of the helicopter, Batman tries to grab the Joker, but his henchmen start shooting at them before realizing that one of the bullets has killed the pilot. The Joker and Batman are wounded as well, and before the helicopter crashes into the river and explodes, Batman jumps and dives into the water. Moments later, Superman arrives to pull Batman out of the water. Batman tells Superman to find the Joker's body. However, nobody is able to do so, and Batman realizes that things between him and Joker always end up one way: unresolved. Trivia: in Frank Miller's The Dark Knight Returns comic, there's a Robin suit in the case, and several allusions to the Joker, which inspired Stalin's story. In real-world time, it would be approximately 17 years before Jason's death would be retconned in Batman Under the Red Hood in 2005. Jim Aparo drew approximately 2 alternate pages depicting Jason surviving, which would have been used if the vote had gone the other way. They have rarely surfaced except for a deluxe hardcover edition and a facsimile edition of Batman issue 428, with both endings to commemorate the 35th anniversary, now released in 2024. So, this was the end of Jason Todd for a long time since Batman's Under the Red Hood story, when Jason returned and has been the Red Hood ever since. This now brings us to the third Robin, Tim Drake. There has been a number of other Robins, but these are considered 3 of the big 4. Originally published in 1989, A Lonely Place to Die, written by Marv Wolfman with illustrations by George Perez and Jim Aparo, collects Tim Drake's 5-issue journey to become the new, and best in my opinion, Robin in the Batman in New Titans comics. In that arc, Batman has become reckless following the death of Jason, and Dick Grayson has become co-owner of Haley Circus, where Dick's parents once performed prior to their death. Dick is approached by Tim Drake, a teenager who has been a longtime fan of Dick since he performed as the Flying Graysons. Tim has deduced the whole truth about Batman and Robin, seeing similarities in the acrobatic movesets of Dick Grayson and Nightwing. Dick refuses to entertain Tim's thoughts that Batman needs Dick to fight alongside him as Robin. Dick instead fights as Nightwing alongside Batman, and the two fall into a trap set by the villain Two-Face. Tim Drake and Alfred know that the heroes are in danger and go to assist them. Tim Drake chooses to take the Robin suit with him, and he wears it when the time comes to confront Two-Face. The villain manages to escape, but Tim saves Batman and Nightwing. Batman is not pleased with Drake becoming Robin, but with Two-Face on the loose, Batman focuses on capturing the criminal. Batman, Nightwing, and Tim locate Two-Face thanks to Tim's quick thinking, and after capturing him, Batman admits he was convinced with Tim's performance and he would work with the youngster to train him and get him ready to become the new Robin. Tim is the only Robin to have ever worked out Batman's secret identity using deductive skills. Following that story, originally published in 1990, Batman Detective Comics arc Rite of Passage, told across Detective Comics issues 618 through 621, sees a voodoo cult kidnap Tim's parents, Janet and Jack Drake, while they're on a Caribbean cruise, holding them hostage for money, until Batman comes to save them. While Batman arrests the cult, Jack and Janet were poisoned when they drank some of the cult leader's water. Janet Drake died instantly, while Jack Drake was left in a coma. He remains in a coma through the Joker's Wild miniseries. Jack Drake would eventually wake up during the ongoing Robin series that started in 1993, throwing multiple spanners in the works for Tim's vigilante life, which included his residential situation living at Wayne Manor with Bruce and Alfred. Jack Drake would survive well into the ongoing Robin series run until the events of 2004's Identity Crisis event. In Identity Crisis issue 5, called Father's Day, Jack Drake is killed by the original Captain Boomerang during a contracted home invasion, Jack fatally shooting the villain before he dies. Jack's death is one of the pieces of Tim's backstory that is brought across into the post-2016 comic continuity. It is worth noting that Tim, having a parent that was alive when he first became Robin, who was an active part of his life when not comatose, is a large cornerstone of what helped set Tim Drake apart from the other Robins. You see the balance of Tim trying to be a vigilante while keeping the rest of his life together and feeling guilt at not telling his father. You see his father finding out eventually and making Tim quit being Robin, a decision that would lead his girlfriend of the time, Stephanie Brown, aka the Spoiler, to put on the Robin costume. You see Jack come to a place of acceptance and pride with Tim being Robin when Gotham is besieged by a gang war, which forces Tim to put the costume back on. The panels I have on screen at the moment, those by themselves, are just so powerful. Reading those, having gone through all the ups and downs I've just summarized for you, makes the loss of Jack Drake even more heartbreaking. In the comics, you barely get any time with Tim getting to be in that place as Robin with his father's acceptance. Add to that, in addition to his father dying, within 12 months in the real world, they also kill his girlfriend, Stephanie Brown. They kill his best friend, Connor Kent, aka Superboy. And he has a classmate whom he tries to save as a civilian die in his arms during a school shooting, simultaneously isolating and traumatizing the character. Anyway, too much of a tangent. Back to, in 1991, DC commissioned the Robin miniseries starring Tim Drake, the first time in DC publication history that any variation of the Robin character had been spotlighted in their own comic title. Also notable, Tim Drake is the first Robin with a costume, unlike those worn by his predecessors, with full pant legs inbuilt into the costume. The series saw Tim Drake sent overseas by Batman to be trained by martial arts experts. However, things quickly escalate with Tim needing to take down the Ghost Dragons gang led by the villains King Snake and Lynx, recurring Tim Drake Robin villains. Lady Shiva, known as, in the DC universe, possibly the world's greatest martial artist, and who, alignment-wise, would probably be classified as an anti-villain, had beef with King Snake. Witnessing Tim Drake fighting King Snake's Ghost Dragons, Shiva, realizing she'll need allies to take down King Snake, decides to train Tim in martial arts, both generally and then specifically in one weapon of his choosing. Robin thinks Shiva is a homicidal maniac, but respects her martial prowess. Tim opted for the bow staff, Shiva somewhat derisively noting its non-lethality, to which Tim replied that was the exact reason he had chosen it. At the end of his training, he defeated Shiva once, with the bow as his weapon. She gifted him with a collapsible bow staff. Robin thwarts King Snake, using a mix of his new martial arts skills combined with his intellect to get the upper hand. Shiva and Robin part ways, with Robin returning to Gotham to operate alongside Batman. We have previously read stories with Tim Drake's Robin back in September 2023 when we covered DC Pride 2022, The Next Generation. For those who don't know, Chuck Dixon was the Batman writer of the 90s. After establishing himself with smaller publishers and finding critical success working for Marvel on Moon Knight and The Punisher, Dixon joined DC Comics as the writer for the first Robin miniseries, a book successful enough that it led to 2 more miniseries and an ongoing monthly. The monthly series went on to run for 15 years and 183 issues plus annuals and specials, 100 of which Dixon wrote himself. Simultaneously, he also wrote Detective Comics, the main Batman book from 1992 to 1999 for 94 issues. He did a number of issues on the second ongoing Batman book titled Batman, as well as 76 issues of Nightwing, not including specials and annuals, a handful of Cassandra Cain Batgirl issues, Birds of Prey's 4-issue miniseries Manhunt, and then the first 46 issues of the ongoing series, and numerous issues of Catwoman, Batman Chronicles, and Green Arrow, starring Connor Hawke. He also did the 9-issue Batgirl Year One comic featuring Barbara Gordon. He was also one of the primary orchestrators of the various big Bat Family crossovers that happened during that time, like the Nightfall, Contagion, Cataclysm, Aftershock, and No Man's Land storylines. Chuck Dixon co-created Batman, the Birds of Prey team, Connor Hawke, who you'd recognize as a recently out Ace, Green Arrow from recent Pride specials, Stephanie Brown, aka Spoiler, who would also be the fourth Robin and fourth Batgirl. He created the iconic Gotham location, the Iceberg Lounge, in 1995. He truly established the idea of the Batman family, having multiple members, all having ongoing adventures, but all being interconnected as one giant network of family and friends that close ranks and band together when one of them runs into more trouble than they can handle alone. His grasp of ground-level superhero characters during that time was unparalleled in the industry. His work with the Bat Family defines so much of how the Bat Family operates today, and after he left influenced the writing of those characters, evident in Tom Taylor's Nightwing and Gail Simone's Birds of Prey, and should be read, consumed, and enjoyed. Here is where I say Chuck Dixon is one of the perfect examples of needing to separate the person from the work. There were occasionally times when Dixon's views, while writing the Bat Family titles, crept in, and his writing of absolutely straight characters that are too moral to have sex before marriage opened the door for characters to be interpreted by later creatives, picking up his story and character reigns as bisexual and asexual in the cases of Tim Drake and Connor Hawke specifically. And his writing was generally at its clunkiest handling female characters, including the all-female Birds of Prey series. But his ultra right-wing conservative views, blatant misogyny, and homophobia became much more prominent immediately after leaving DC, largely in the early 2000s, finishing with DC entirely by 2008. I cannot in good conscience recommend anything he wrote after that time. Enjoy the Bat Family content with his name attached in a vacuum. Don't expose yourself to the hate that he spews outside of that era. Robin 2, The Joker's Wild, 1991, Issue 1. So why did we read these issues? Because this is Tim Drake's first time taking on the Joker, and the first time for the Joker seeing somebody in the Robin suit after having killed Jason Todd. As a production note, original printings of these issues had a holographic enhancement card that was incorporated into the artwork. These symbolize the hologram images used inside the comic during the plot at certain times by Robin. Robin goes on his first patrol in Gotham City without the accompaniment of Batman, who is out of town. Things are slow because of heavy winter snow until Tim notices that the bat signal is lit. When he arrives at Gotham City Police Headquarters, Commissioner Gordon is disappointed that Batman isn't with him because the Joker has escaped from Arkham Asylum. Tim is unsure of his readiness to deal with the Joker on his own, but Alfred tries to be reassuring. The next day at school, Tim turns down an invitation to both Carl the Jock's party and games night with his real friends because of his duties as Robin. That night he goes to Arkham to investigate the Joker's cell. Inside he finds a number of computer-related magazines and finds a number of references to a Dr. Osgood Pellinger who has theories about the pervasiveness of computers. Robin stakes out Pellinger's home and follows Pellinger when he goes out in his car at a suspiciously late hour. Dr. Pellinger's car is scooped up and kidnapped by a snowplow driven by the Joker. Robin jumps down onto the hood of the plow, and the Joker is surprised to see him alive, not realizing there has been other Robins before. He knocks the boy off the vehicle and escapes. Tim is worried that the Joker will realize that Batman is out of Gotham and go on a rampage. In order to keep him in line, Tim and Alfred agree to form a plan that will convince the Joker that Batman is still in the city. This issue sees the introduction of a number of recurring classmates of Tim's beyond this series into the ongoing series that followed. There's Kevin Hudman, who appeared in a total of 8 issues up until 1995, Hudson, who appeared in a total of 11 issues until 1999, and Carl Rank, a jock and bully who appears in 8 issues until dying in a 1996 comic, where Carl takes a gun to school as leader of a vigilante group trying to protect the school from a supposed influx of non-white students and is killed in a shootout. The most prominent of all the introduced classmates is Sebastian Ives, who is always portrayed as a highly intelligent character. Sebastian appears in nearly 40 issues of Robin and Red Robin up until 2011. The character was never reintroduced following the New 52 DC reboot. The character was often ill, contracting both Lyme disease and follicular cancer during his time in the Robin comics, though ended the Red Robin series cured of the former and in remission for the latter. Robin 2, The Joker's Wild, 1991, Issue 2. Robin develops a plan to project holograms of Batman around Gotham City to convince the criminal underworld that Batman is still in Gotham and draw the Joker out of hiding. All the late nights are wearing on Tim, though, and his school studies are suffering. Thanks to the help of his friend Ives, he escapes embarrassment in class. Later, Ives notices that Tim is obviously wealthy enough to afford a private school, but Tim suggests that the public school was chosen to build character. Somewhere in Gotham, the Joker is drugged a kidnapped Dr. Osgood Pellinger, forcing him to work on a project that will involve commandeering the technology and computers of the city. Later, he holds an audition for a struggling actress, wherein all that he requires of her is that she be able to scream convincingly. Tim and Alfred struggle with all the equipment they need to make their holographic projections work. They set up the equipment in a location that will allow them to project the image on about half a dozen rooftops. When Robin hears about a suicide attempt on his police radio, he runs off. The suicide attempt is the same actress that the Joker has hired, and she is meant as a distraction. Joker is put out that Batman and Robin have appeared, but he moves his plan forward anyway. He and his men follow Dr. Pellinger's plans, confounding the city's telephone systems to be controlled at their whim. Outside, the actress slips, and Robin is forced to tie a batarang around her ankle and support all her weight by himself. Fortunately, she is saved. As the Joker escapes, he sees the Batman hologram and opens fire on it, revealing the illusion. With the Joker distracted, Robin drops down, knocking the villain to the ground. The Joker is unfazed, however, and soon beats Robin into submission, noticing that this is a different Robin than the one he had already killed. When the police arrive on the scene, Joker releases some gas and escapes as Robin struggles to get away from the lethal poison. Back at his hideout, the Joker celebrates his success and comes to the realization that Batman is not in Gotham, and Robin is protecting the city by himself. Robin 2, The Joker's Wild, 1991, Issue 3. The Joker hacks into the computers in Gotham City, including emergency services and government computers, sending the city into disarray with power outages and fires everywhere. Joker has sent a tape to the mayor, which the mayor decides to withhold from the public in order to save face. This leaves it up to Commissioner Gordon to deal with it all. Gordon is forced to confer with Robin because Batman is out of town. The next day, the Joker hacks into the Jumbotron at Gotham Stadium during the Hammer Bowl. He demands $1 billion as ransom to set the city back in order, but with the catch that it must be delivered by Batman personally. Alfred realizes that the Joker has called Tim's bluff and is well aware that Batman isn't in the city. Later, Tim plays Warlocks and Warriors with his friends as the Dungeon Master. When faced with the challenge of creating a scenario for his friends to play out, Tim sets up something similar to what is actually happening in Gotham. The king is away, and a mad wizard has taken over the country, leaving only the king's son to deal with it. Ives recommends that the prince follow the flow of the wizard's magic to track him down. This causes Tim to realize that he should follow the Joker's trail over the internet by hacking, and leaves the game without explanation. Tim attempts to use the Batcave's two supercomputers, called Craze, to hack his way into the Joker's mainframe. After hours of digging his way through the server's shell, Tim realizes that the Joker has used the connection Tim has established to hack into the Craze themselves. Desperately, Tim cuts the power before the Joker can get any information from them. The Joker causes even more havoc for Gotham, such that the mayor asks to have the city declared a disaster area. Tim decides to stop reacting and do some real detective work. He sneaks into the kidnapped Dr. Osgood Pellinger's house seeking clues. Eventually, he comes across a shoebox filled with photos and memorabilia of Pellinger's childhood dog. Meanwhile, the Joker delivers his demands to the mayor's office, and a frustrated Commissioner Gordon warns Robin against facing the Joker alone. Robin 2, The Joker's Wild, 1991, Issue 4. With no one to really share his feelings and worries with, Robin visits his comatose father, Jack Drake, in the hospital. Later, Tim and Alfred prepare for a plan that will evade the Joker's ransom trap, and simultaneously trace back to the location of Dr. Osgood Pellinger, who the Joker has kidnapped to enact his plan to technologically disable Gotham City. The police deliver a red truck as requested, leaving it to be picked up by Batman, who is not in the city to collect it. Instead, Robin arrives and sets up a system by which he can control the truck by a remote. Elsewhere, Alfred sets up a laptop at a payphone with which he will run a program set up by Robin to get a response from Dr. Pellinger so his location could be traced by the GCPD. The program shows a picture of Pellinger's childhood dog Pixie, and he emails Alfred, allowing the trace to occur. Meanwhile, Robin drives the truck through a blizzard onto a suspended bridge. The Joker drives to a viewpoint on a snowmobile. He spots Batman in the truck driver's seat through his binoculars, falling for Robin's ploy. Rather than collecting the promised $1 billion in cash, the Joker opts to simply blow up the truck to destroy his adversary. When he investigates, he discovers that Batman in the truck is a fake and has little time to contemplate it before Robin swoops down and knocks him to the ground. Robin takes down the Joker's thugs, but the Joker himself begins escaping on skates across the river. Robin follows on snowmobile to a sewage treatment plant, unaware of whether or not it's a trap. When he arrives, he is ambushed by the Joker. Robin is quick on his feet and manages to dodge the Joker's blades before ultimately knocking the villain into a vat of sewage. The police arrive in time to apprehend the Joker and inform Tim that they have traced Dr. Pellinger's location. At home, Tim is served tea by Alfred, and they congratulate themselves on their success. Finally, Batman returns home, wondering what's happened. In Arkham Asylum, the other inmates make cracks about the Joker's accompanying smell of sewage, while he swears revenge on Robin. Robin, 1993, issue 85. Between delivering ever more exaggerated lies about his childhood to the therapist at Slabside Penitentiary, the Joker discusses his history with the Robins, including the growth of the first, the murder of the second, and his first defeat at the hands of the third. As he shares his story, the Joker comes to wonder if multiple Batmen exist as well, and whether he really has managed to kill several of them. Eventually, the Joker shatters the one-way glass separating him and his therapists, only to begin hallucinating that Slabside's staff is composed entirely of Robins. Slabside's guards quickly beat the Joker into submission and throw him into solitary confinement, where he is free to share his latest stories with the cockroach on the floor.